Coming up on this episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast, I am joined by Evan Closky of 10 Tampa Bay. We're going to get his reactions to the win over the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about full-time Lenny. We're going to talk about some of the injuries and if there are any possible returns. Then we're going to dive in to this weekend's matchup against Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. All that coming up right now on Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. I am James Yarko, joined as I always am on Wednesdays by 10 Tampa Bay's Evan Closky. You can check us out on Twitter at @JYarko_Bucks, at @eClosky, WTSP, at Locked On Bucs, and at Bucs_Nation. We'd like to thank all of you for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen every day. And it's now available on YouTube. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel over there. Subscribe, set your alerts. You'll know anytime a video is published. But Evan, that Eagles game, we're going to start there, because you had talked about last week that you think you wanted to pick the Eagles and you felt it was going to be a lot closer than people were given credit for. And it was a blowout until Jalen Hurts decided to rush in 2 touchdowns and cost me a lot of money on FanDuel. I went from winning, a couple $1,000 to winning $2.50. But talk about your reaction to the win over the Eagles.
Yeah, certainly was wrong in how I thought that game was going to go down. Having said that, if Brady doesn't do Brady things in the final 5 minutes of that contest, right, if they have to punt or give the ball back to the Eagles, well, after getting that 2-point conversion, it would have been a dicey situation, because the Bucs came out hot, couldn't get stopped, and then in the second half, the execution wasn't there. Then the Eagles started finding rhythm. So, I was actually thoroughly impressed with the defense, especially early on. Even the Eagles scored in the first drive, but it was kind of fluky. Quez Watkins had that crazy catch in the middle of the field that Hurts just flung up there, and that was a big chunk play. But overall, the Bucs stopped Hurts from scrambling around. They had a great game plan, and they were all over the place. Shaq Barrett continues to kind of get out of that funk that he was in for the first couple games of the season. I'm expecting more and more sacks to be coming, foreshadowing for this week. But yeah, I thought the defense, for all intents and purposes, really stepped up, because, and I'm to be blamed on this, and I think a lot of people are. Every week, we continually talk about the secondary having injury issues and their Swiss cheese and so on and so forth. And they really haven't shown it. Like, they haven't had a blow-up game where it's like, oh, boy, Brady's going to have to put up 55 because the defense can't get a stop. So, a big tip of the cap to Todd Bowles. He's figuring it out. He's getting creative, which is great to see. And it certainly does help that at least Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh are healthy. And, the defensive front, if you can keep them upright, then things are going to work out. Offensively speaking, a lot to like as well. Antonio Brown is becoming matchup proof. I thought against Xavier Howard, AB wasn't going to have a good game, and he did. And then the Eagles, one of the best pass defenses in the league. Okay, and they had a good slot corner. All right, this is going to be the week that AB doesn't have a good week. Nope, AB continues to go off. So Antonio Brown is arguably wide receiver 1 on this team. And that's saying a lot with Mike Evans. But AB is really the go-to guy for Tom Brady. And Mike Evans will get his, and he's phenomenal. And that's no shade to Mike Evans, because on every team except a handful would he be wide receiver one. This is one of those handful teams. And it's just because Antonio Brown has been so clutch, and he's able to win his one-on-one matchups, and he's becoming a reliable source for Tom Brady. And Chris Godwin will get his as well, but he's more of a safety valve. And Godwin is so due, because that guy gets peppered in the red zone and just can't get in the end zone. But a lot of thoughts there on the Eagles. Of course, you would have liked to have seen that game close stronger, but I thought that was another notch in Tom Brady's belt for the MVP award, that he can get the ball back 5+ minutes and just milk that sucker all the way down the field to ice the game. Because with the way that thing was heading, if the defense had to defend the lead and the win, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, I mentioned on a show earlier this week, it was one of my takeaways, that Antonio Brown is this team's number one wide receiver. Even missing that game with COVID, he still leads the team in targets. But you could also make the argument that it's because of Mike Evans and it's because of Chris Godwin that Antonio Brown has become the number one wide receiver. You have those big targets that are wide receiver ones, as you said, probably on pretty much any other team in the NFL, excluding maybe a small handful. And it's creating these opportunities for AB to get open and to only have to deal with the one-on-one matchups. He's not getting, the safety help coming over the top the way Mike and the way Chris are. But you take a look at all the things that Antonio Brown has done. You almost have a wide receiver 1A, 1B, 1C, and it just really depends on the drive as to which player is in which level of that wide receiver one category. It's a great problem to have. Then something we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes, you add in the emergence of the running game, which has helped immensely. And we're starting to see those shades of the dominant offense we saw at the end of 2020. And you're right, a tip of the cap to Todd Bowles and the defense, not giving up 30, 35 points a game. Even though this defense does have some troubles, they aren't getting completely roasted the way some of the other defenses around the NFL have been. Real quick, but before we move on, I want to bring up the Locked On Network power rankings, and I want to get your thoughts on something. David and I both ranked the Buccaneers number one over the 6-0 Arizona Cardinals. And the argument that I made was that if the Cardinals had lost all of the starting caliber players that the Buccaneers have, if the Buffalo Bills had lost all of the starting caliber players that the Buccaneers have, they would not still be winning football games. But the Buccaneers are still going out there. They're still winning football games. And I say that's a feather in the hat of the Buccaneers, that they're still the best team in the National Football League.
So I think you're right. I'm going to play devil's advocate, because that makes for good TV. That makes for good commentary. 1,000% on point with that. Let's talk about the Buccaneers' opponents. They played the Cowboys. Great team, tough win. Tom Brady MVP case, of course. Falcons, not a good team. Rams, great team, and didn't look good. Buccaneers, worst game of the season. Patriots, not that good of a team. Dolphins, not a good team. Eagles, not a good team. So I'm just saying that we really don't know who the Bucs are yet. Now, if I was doing my rankings, I would say this. Are you more afraid to play the Buccaneers than the Cardinals? I would argue yes. I would be more afraid to play the Buccaneers than the Cardinals. And I think that's how I view power rankings. Not on the college side of things. I do it a bit different. But in the NFL, it's like, okay, well, if I was squaring up against this team, or if I'm a fan and I see this team on the schedule, am I freaking out? What's my panic level? So to me, I think that the Bucs are arguably one in that category, especially with a guy like Tom Brady. I just want to provide the perspective that the Bucs have only really played two playoff type teams, and one was a coin flip and the other was a terrible performance.
That's fair. Now, I wouldn't say that the Cardinals have had an overly difficult schedule either. They did face the Rams, so you have that common opponent. They did win pretty decisively. They just played the Browns, who should be a playoff team, but they're not looking too great either. Other than that, they played the Titans, they played the Vikings, they played the Jags, and they played the Niners. And when they played the Niners, it was against Trey Lance in his first career start. So you could potentially make a similar argument about the Cardinals, but the Cardinals schedule coming up is pretty similar to that of the Bucs. They're not playing any world beaters outside of the Packers in 2 weeks. They have the Texans, they have the Niners again, they have the Panthers, they have a Russell Wilson-less Seahawks, and they have the Chicago Bears. So we could see a collision course here for the Bucs and Cardinals, because the Cardinals are just cruising right now.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, I don't know if you can make that argument, right? Because the Titans are 4-2, the Vikings are 3-3, the Rams are, I forget what they are, but they're over 500. The Niners are legit. The Browns are a potential playoff team, even though I know Baker's hurt right now. Like, to me, they're more battle tested. That's just to me, that's just facts. So, and they do, they're going to face the Texans this week and whatever. But as you mentioned, Packers, Niners, and then it gets pretty soft. Outside of the Rams and the Cowboys, they kind of hit they're stretched that the Bucs are right now in. And look, I mean, all you can do is win the games that are in front of you. So I'm not trying to throw shade at the Bucs. Again, this is a devil's advocate argument. I'm just presenting the other side of the coin that we're going to get to the end of the season. I mean, the Bucs schedule is not good. It's really, seriously, they only have so many tests. That, like that Bills game is going to be a monster game. Outside of that, I mean, we're talking about the people that the Panthers and the Saints. I mean, the Colts, that's a thing. They won the Super Bowl last year, but they didn't win a division. Mm-hmm. And that position in the division gave them a fortuitous schedule the following year. So that was kind of the added benefit.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of some coin, our listeners and viewers can get themselves a little bit of coin thanks to an incredible app for anybody that buys gas. I'm talking about Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code Touchdown and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free. Use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back. There's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, your PayPal. You can redeem it for e-gift cards for places like Amazon. All you have to do is download the free Get Upside app and use promo code Touchdown. Segment 2 here of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, Evan Closky. Evan, let's talk about playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, regular season Lenny, Thursday night Lenny, full-time Lenny, whatever Lenny you want to deem him. Let's talk about the impact that Leonard Fournette has had over the course of the past couple weeks. Because over the last 3 weeks, he is third in the NFL in all-purpose yards. Not only has he become the Buccaneers' best rushing weapon, but he is now becoming a legitimate option as a receiver coming out of the backfield. I feel bad for Rojo. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I don't know if this is a mental thing with him right now. He just kind of looks distance. He reminds me of Leonard Fournette from last year before Bruce Arians sat Leonard down and said, look, either you're with us or you ask me to cut you, but this is what we're doing. This is the role you're going to have. And you're going to get to a point where we're going to have to rely on you, but you have to be all in. So what do you make of Leonard Fournette, what he's doing right now? And on the flip side, what do you make of Ronald Jones' drastically decreased role in kind of the mental state that goes with that?
So I don't necessarily know if Ronald Jones is checked out or looking like that. My interpretation is Leonard Fournette is the better back. I think Leonard Fournette has absolutely proven to the coaching staff, and especially Bruce Arians, that he is the best guy for the job. And at the beginning of the season, it was 1A, 1B. They're going to exchange drives. And that's how it worked for 2 to 3 games. But Leonard Fournette stole that job with what we're seeing. I mean, the last 3 games now, he's more than 100 plus yards from the line of scrimmage. He is caught 25 of 30 targets. He has that, he just had that tremendous game on the ground against the Eagles, who, by the way, I said maybe the one thing I got right last week was the Leonard Fournette game, but that's because the Eagles' rushing defense is terrible. But since New England, 20 attempts, 92 yards. Miami, 12 attempts, 67 yards. Philadelphia, 22 attempts, 81 yards. And again, that is not accounting for what he's doing as a pass catcher. He's honestly deemed Gio Bernard not necessary. They still put Bernard in there in a 2-minute drill and a third down, but even now, it's like, why would we take Lenny out? He is the hot hand. Bruce Arians is a hot hand guy. He is it. So my thing with Rojo is the guy isn't getting any opportunities. And sure, maybe that could check a guy out, but I don't know what else he's supposed to do in his limited role, especially because it's obvious that Leonard Fournette has taken it. Now, having said that, Rojo has been very consistent the entire year with his carries, even playing the hot hand sort of deal for the first few weeks. He has never had less than 4 carries, and he's never had more than 6 carries, and he's averaging 3.8 yards per carry. He's pretty much going to have 5 and 20, 6 and 25. That's what we're looking at. So, I don't know what he's supposed to do with 5 carries per game. He's almost averaging 4 yards per carry, which is not bad. It's just Fournette's better. Now, Bruce, this could change midway through the season if Fournette gets, turns a corner and goes south. But
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Ronald Jones' depth at this point.
Yeah, well, and like you said, he stole that job. He's earned every single snap that he's getting out there. This isn't a situation where you're picking the lesser of 2 evils. You are putting somebody who is on pace to be a Pro Bowl caliber player if he continues on this run throughout the rest of the year. And I realize that's asking a lot in an offense that's predicated on the pass, but Leonard Fournette looks like an every down back. He looks like the top 5 pick that he was. And real quick, before we touch on the injuries, in your opinion, after this season, Leonard Fournette he's out there earning himself some money, right? He is earning a bag right now. Is he going to stay with the Buccaneers? This is a conversation David and I had where we're thinking this is trending towards the only back on the roster this year that's going to be on the roster next year is Keyshawn Vaughn. And that's because he's still under his rookie deal. Do you think Leonard Fournette has the potential to stay a Buccaneer beyond this season, or is he now playing himself out of their price range?
Probably playing himself out of his price range. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be on the roster next year. Fournette's got to get the bag. As a running back, you need to get as much money as you can as when you have the opportunity. Now, I don't know if he's going to have a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal. He's not going to get the mega contract, but the Bucs still can't really waste your money on a running back. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I do believe that the Buccaneers will go towards the Chiefs route that they did last year when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they will draft a running back a little higher than I think people would normally like to do it, but it's such a position of need, they will probably reach and get one of the best people at that position in the draft versus investing in a guy like Leonard Fournette when they're going to need to invest in a lot of other places. You're going to want to get the Chris Godwin situation figured out. There's a handful of guys. Jason Pierre-Paul is not going to be back next year because he's going to be too much money, we think, unless things go south and he wants to sign a 1-year deal or something. But, that's for another day. But short answer is no, I don't think so because of his play.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. So for all of you Bucs fans, start paying attention to running backs that are playing on Saturday.
Yep.
Because those are going to be names that you want to keep an eye on. Let's touch on the injury front real quick before we head over to the prediction segment and talk a little bit about the Bears. Antoine Winfield Jr. still not cleared as of this recording. It is 9:25 in the morning on Wednesday. Still not cleared from concussion protocol. So we're looking like another game without Antoine Winfield Jr., which is kind of ironic to me. He's now looking at missing another game, whereas the quarterback that the Bucs are about to face in Justin Fields had his head bounced off the ground like a Harlem Globetrotter dribbling a basketball, and he never missed a snap.
Yeah.
You have the Daniel Jones situation where he was out with a concussion. All of a sudden he's back. And I realize all concussions are not created equal, but this is a little bit concerning now. You kind of thought that he could clear protocol, against the Eagles if they were lucky, but with the short week, maybe not. But after having this extended time off now, if he misses another game with a concussion, some red flags are going to start going up. Still no Levante. The secondary is what the secondary is. Anybody in particular that you're looking at as a potential return from the MASH unit that is the Buccaneers injury report?
Yeah, I'm still eyeing Antoine because it just seems like it is a concussion protocol deal. He's out there. He's with the team. I believe he's close. There is no rush, but that's something we will certainly monitor. And if it gets through the week and he still hasn't cleared protocol, it is going to draw some questions. I don't know who the Bucs are going to get back this week. Still uncertain on where Patrick O'Connor is. I don't like the fact that Gronk wasn't at practice, and I know Tuesday was a bonus day, yada, yada, yada. But Bruce Arians in the press conference said there are 2 to 3 guys he's hoping to have back at the end of the week. And I believe his exact quote was, it's going to be down to the wire, something like that. Down to the wire, to me, from a football coach, is not going to happen, especially for a team that's 5-1. If you're going down to the wire, I just leave them for next week. We got thrown this narrative that maybe Gronk and Antoine Winfield were close for the Eagles game. If it wasn't a short week, maybe. And now we're kind of caught in the same thing again. So I'm not too optimistic about this week. And I'm starting to wonder if we're just going to get to the bye week, regroup, and get a boatload of people back on the back end.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And honestly, They don't need to rush Gronk back. This is another game that he could probably sit out, get a little bit more healthy. I would like to see Antoine Winfield Jr. out there, but it's not like Mike Edwards is any kind of slouch. So definitely something to continue to keep an eye on. We're going to keep talking about the injuries because, well, let's be honest, Evan, the Buccaneers are kind of boring, right? I mean, they're good. There's no drama and they go out there and they win games. And so, really, the biggest storyline we have is the injury front. But we are going to talk about that Bears game here in just a minute. Have to let you know that the Locked On Bucs podcast is free and on all platforms. Thanks to people like McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can reconnect, win or lose. It's a place where teammates, competitors, the home team, or the away team can come to recharge. My son scored a hat trick, his first ever hat trick at a hockey tournament a few weeks ago. I asked him, hey, what do you want? Let's get you a little treat. He said, Dad, I want an Oreo McFlurry. I was like, boom, done deal. It's a staple of our family road trips. We stop at McDonald's for breakfast. We stop at McDonald's for lunch. So it's a big part of really every family and every community. Head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. Did somebody say a Locked On Bucs watch party? Maybe a Locked On Bucs watch party in Vegas in McDonald's, McDoubles for everybody. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Something else that I'm loving, Evan, are Built Bars. If you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you are the one that is missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it does not taste like one. You have to try one of these amazing bars yourself to believe it. Most protein bars are chalky, waxy, just plain hard to choke down. A Built Bar is soft. It's covered in 100% real chocolate. When you bite into it, you know you're eating something different. It's more of an experience and one that you're going to enjoy. In fact, you'd swear that you're eating a candy bar. Built Bars are low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar, high in protein. So all the healthy benefits on top of just being purely delicious. There are so many flavors. You guys know them. I rattle them off all the time. You know, I'm a peanut butter brownie guy, but there's also coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, cherry, barcia. This month, Built is coming out with new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So make sure that you keep checking back to their website often. That website is built.com. You want to use promo code LOCKED15. You're going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Wrapping things up here on a WTSP Wednesday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, Evan Closky on Twitter at JYarko_Bucs, at eClosky WTSP. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see those Twitter handles right down there. Yep. You guys should go watch on YouTube. It's a good time over there. But Evan,
you see me walking around my apartment.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's like you're giving a free virtual tour of your place, and our viewers appreciate that.
If you're lucky, you get to see my dog.
Yeah. Everybody loves dogs. If you don't love dogs, then
get out.
I got nothing for you. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. And I'm not going to play the I'm right card yet, because it's not fair to Justin Fields that I sit there and say I wasn't sold on him coming out of the draft. He hasn't looked good. Part of that blame lies squarely on the shoulders of horrendous coaching by Matt Nagy. So I'm going to give him some more time before I start saying, see, I wasn't sold on Justin. He's not doing all that great. But he's not doing all that great. The Bears are not doing all that great. And in a week where they're going up against a beaten and battered secondary for the Buccaneers, I'm still wondering where Allen Robinson is. He has zero involvement in the offense. The guy for Justin Fields has been Darnell Mooney, but this offense just looks discombobulated. It looks inept. What do you make of the Bears? And then let's go ahead and get into to your predictions for this game, and you can kick it off with your predictive player of the game.
Predictive player, I'm going to try to go over to the defensive side of the ball for once, and I'm going to do Shaq Barrett. I think Shaq Barrett is going to have 2, maybe 3. You know what? Screw it. He's going to have 3 sacks.
Yeah.
Shaq Barrett said that he could be called Sack Barrett again when he gets 3 sacks in a game. So I'm going to use that storyline from that quote that he gave us 3 games ago. 3 games ago would have been the Patriots. It might have been the Miami game. I forget. Whatever. But that was his rule. Can't call him Sack Barrett until he gets 3 in a game. He's going to do it. Player of the game.
Well, and Justin Fields is a very mobile quarterback. We've seen that. We've seen him make some plays with his legs. And Shaq Barrett was giving another mobile quarterback in Jalen Hurts fits all game long. He was chasing him up and down the field. Just had some moments where he couldn't quite close in, or he might have had a 3-sack performance. So I expect something similar against Justin Fields this weekend. What about your bold prediction?
Bold prediction. Let me know if this is bold enough. I would say 5 sacks for the defense. I can go up to 6 if we needed bolder. If we need to go to McDonald's, make that extra bold coffee. Either that or a receiver for the Bears doesn't go over 40 yards. So however it stacks up, no receiver for the Bears will have more than 40 yards.
Okay. All right.
I'll give 2 of them. This way I go 0 for 2 instead of 0 for 1.
You've been pretty good on your bolds, though.
It has been too shabby. Though I think last week I was more locked in on my player of the game. My scores have been really close, though.
They have.
My scores have been really spot on. Again, I think last week I had 22 for the Eagles. I think I had 23-22. So
yeah, you've been pretty spot on. Now, I like the 5 sacks bold, and we'll do the bonus bold of the no receiver gets over 40 yards, which is pretty bold in and of itself, given the condition of the secondary. But I think, have the Buccaneers even had a game this year where they had 5 sacks? Because I think they've had 4, but I can't remember if they've had 5 in a game.
I don't think they've done 5 yet.
I could be wrong. It's early in the morning. I'm only on my second rock star of the day, not a sponsor. I'm not fully functional until I have my third. So
that's when it really kicks in.
So, all right. Well, speaking of how close you've been on your score predictions, what do you have for us for this game?
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know. I gotta double check. I don't know if they got over 4. They had 3 against Miami. Appreciate it. So I'll look into that before we finish up. Score prediction. I'm going 27. I'll go 27-13 Buccaneers. It's I think it's gonna go it's gonna be one of those games where it's a slow start, not necessarily like for the Bucs going out to a deficit. I think it's gonna be like punt, 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 and then the Bucs are gonna start clicking, and the Bears will eventually get something on the board. But I think this is a take care of business game. Maybe it's not a game we walk away from saying, oh, they dominated for, all 60 minutes. But I think this is a game where you never watched it and felt like the game was in doubt.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. Now, that was the same score that I picked for the Eagles game. So that didn't come to fruition. But, a win's a win. It doesn't matter if they're winning pretty or they're winning ugly anymore. Yeah. A win is a win in the NFL, and they're so hard to come by that you have to be thankful that this team, as beaten and battered as they are continuing to win football games.
Yeah, that's that. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. The fact that this team is finding ways to win with how injured they are. I mean, what you were saying in segment 2 was absolutely correct, and you are right. 4 sacks against the Patriots, by the way, was was it high? They had 4-3. They got the Hurts last week. The sacks are coming again, which is great to see. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, what they have in the secondary right now is an atrocity. Like, let's just be completely frank. And that's not to say that those individual players are an atrocity. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm not calling any of ththose players out. It's just, look, when you lose, you know, you're starting cornerback, you're starting safety, your other cornerback, then the cornerback you brought in, who is supposed to be a starting like, when you go through all those injuries, I mean, you're on, like, I mean, you are at the bottom of the barrel of your depth chart, and there should be more lumps than what we're seeing. But as I said last week, and I'll say again, Ross Cockrell has been one of the greatest surprises of the season, dating back to training camp. Jamel Dean, back-to-back games with an interception. His goal is to get 5 on the year. So he is, an integral part now of that defense. The Mike Edwards, Mr. Ballhawk. We know that what he can do. There are guys who we know are good and stand behind other guys who are stepping up right now, and a big tip of the cap to them.
Absolutely. All right, Evan, what do we have on tap over there at 10 Tampa Bay for all of our listeners? Of course, we got to talk about the Blitz, man.
Of course. So the Blitz every Sunday at 11:30 in the morning. We're now back to our regular scheduled programming after the London game pushed us all the way up to 8:30. But the Blitz with Simeon Rice, we talk about some fun stuff between fashion. Of course, we get into the nitty-gritty about the games, but he also provides perspective of what it's like in the locker room. I mean, it's really just, when it comes to analysis of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, you really can't get anything like you get with the Blitz anywhere else, because we do have Simeon, who provides that perspective from being a former Buck, being a former Super Bowl champion, trying to do the repeat run, and knowing what these guys are thinking in the heat of the moment or after the game or in preparation. So that's fun. 10 Tampa Bay. Please tune in. Check it out online as well. Plus, head to Twitter at Closky WTSP. 99.9% of the time we'll respond. Also, find me on Facebook, Instagram at Closky, and then our website, 10tampabay.com, where we don't just talk about the Bucs, but the Bolts are back in action. Rowdies are entering the playoffs here. Their last home game of the regular season is tonight. So lots cooking in Tampa Bay. We got you covered.
It'd be nice if the Lightning could get a lead just once.
Yeah. The Lightning have not led for a single second this season, and somehow are 2-2.
Yeah. I'm super glad that I used my first round pick in my fantasy hockey draft on Nikita Kucherov.
Yeah. He's at least out for 10 games. That's not fun.
He's going to be out for like 4 months, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there.
For that kind of stuff, you can check out my buddy Adam Danker over at Locked On Lightning. But we want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or first watch every day. Now make your second listen. The Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available on all platforms. Check out everything I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Make sure you follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JArco_Bucs, at Closky WTSP, and at Bucs_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.